All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else and what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, our very special guest and feature titan all the way from Washington, D.C., Chris Craddock. Chris, thanks so much for taking the time. It's an absolute honor to have you on the show.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hanging with you. This is great. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's an honor. And I love hanging out live. And again, we were talking just before we went, and it's like, it's so wonderful this technology is out there so that we can literally have these conversations face to face, even though we're thousands of miles away. So let's just dive into the series of questions, Chris, get everybody to know you deeper as a man, as a professional. So let's just start with the first one, which is telling everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my my adult life, and you know, I graduated college in 2000 and went on staff with an organization called Young Life. Changed my life when I was younger, and it was awesome. And I loved it. It was great. 2003, my wife got pregnant and she was going to stay home, and I was making $20,000 a year on staff with Young Life, which if you live in the DC area, you know, you can't live on $20,000 a year.
That's tough. That's tough.
But I did it because I loved it and it was awesome. And so at the time, my mom's side of the family was very white collar bankers, and they all owned a number of real estate, apartment buildings, did just houses, all the other stuff. My dad's side of the family, you know, my grandfather he was not college educated. I don't even think he had a high school degree. He was a road worker, made like $3.25 an hour. Wow. But the crazy thing is, he cobbled together money and bought properties in North Arlington, which if you know this area, it has become a very, very expensive place to live. And so when he died a wealthy man. And so regardless of where you come from, knowing that real estate is really the key to wealth, I just went to the library and checked out every book they have on real estate investing. And they had 21 books, started with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I think everybody's read. And if you haven't, you need to read it. And then, then all just whatever other book they had, because it was before Google was the fount of all information. Right.
Right.
And so I just read some books about distressed properties. I started knocking on doors, and then 4 months, I made about 12 times what I made in a year in, doing ministry stuff. But I love ministry, so I kept doing that. And, you know, we ended up, we have 6 kids. And anything, yeah, we should have gotten a TV sooner, right?
I love that. Family's everything, Chris. No, that's huge. That's great.
Yeah, but once we figured out what caused it, we could stop it. Then if you know anything about kids, you know, it's like putting on your money in a bathtub and somebody pulls the plug and it's gone. And so
well said.
So I started flipping houses again in 2011, I believe. And at that point, you know, I'd gone back to school. I'd gotten a doctorate in leadership, and ended up reading Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And I think it was December of 2014 is when we really launched our team, because it just made sense to build a team. And then, in the last 5 years, last year, was the 5-year mark, and we broke the 100 million mark. We did just under 120 million last year.
That is absolutely incredible. And Chris, going through your story of obviously what kind of got you to where you are to today, I want to dive a little bit deeper onto your initial thought process of getting into real estate. And obviously, you know, with the background as you thought about and went through, but what was it? What was your initial thought to say, yes, I want to go into real estate, and then kind of take us through that process to where you are to today?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, looking at success leaves clues. And when I looked at the wealthier people that I knew, there were some that were very, very much into other forms of wealth building. But what I saw was across the board, you know, rich, poor, educated, not educated, people could get into real estate and really do amazing things. And it was passive. There were tax benefits to it. Other people would make the money for you. You know, you can buy your house and let somebody else pay it off for you. Right. And so it just seemed to pass all of the tests, you know, for as far as passive income goes, that just made sense. And also the idea that I was in ministry, and as I started buying rental properties, the idea that those would be paid off and I would have a six-figure income. At the time, that was my goal, was to have a six-figure income.
Sure.
It came in, and worked when I wasn't working. No more trading time for dollars by the time I was ready to retire. My goals have
Beautiful.
shifted since then, but I just saw an easy, clear path to a six-figure income in retirement, because I don't know that Social Security is gonna really do it for us.
Yeah, I think that everybody who's watching or listening is literally nodding their head saying, yeah, I don't think it is either. It's crazy though, Chris. And what you had said there is speaking to so many people who are watching and listening to this, and any other entrepreneurial spirits. They really understand there's a lot of hard work and effort, but there's great reward, not just on a financial standpoint, but supporting your family, supporting your communities, making a difference, which is everything you're doing and more. Now, when it comes down to the investor side, I do want to touch on that just a little bit too, because I know that your world is deep into that side as well. So can you talk about that to the audience and anything that's happening in your life with, the investor standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of the reason why we've grown as much as we've grown, and I get really excited talking about this because it just made a lot of sense. So I got into this program where people were, essentially with cash buyer or, offering cash buyer services to distressed sellers. And as we went through it, we were just closing so many retail deals from it. And as I got to know more and more investors, though, I realized that they were fix and flippers or wholesalers, that they were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars every month, some millions of dollars every month when you look in our area. And the deals that they couldn't flip or couldn't wholesale, they were just throwing away because it wasn't worth their time. A lot of them had tried different options and couldn't do it. And they hired real estate agents. They tried to do their own brokerage. They tried to do all these different things, but they couldn't do it. And part of the reason why was because a lot of these people, the people that call investors, are different than the people that are looking for a real estate agent to come and open up and do a listing presentation, because they know they're selling to an investor. For some reason, there's a reason they want to sell to an investor. And if you can understand that reason and essentially give them what they want, then you can make a fortune. The people that make the most money are the people that can solve other people's problems.
Well said. Well said. And in every form or facet. And what you're saying to me is, at the end of the day, we all have a current situation, a desired situation, and there's a gap. And that true professional can really, close that gap and bring that individual team person to the desired situation. I think that that's huge when you're talking about leveraging time and really having a larger impact. And Chris, you wouldn't have hit the numbers and grown and had the scale that you do so far and will continue to in the real estate world and impacting that if you didn't already understand that and really implement it. So you're truly a professional of the highest standards. And again, in my opinion, when it comes down to it, it's just walking the talk, really living that life. And again, why I'm honored, as why so many others are happy to see you on the show too. So I want to shift gears and dive a little deeper into you as a person and kind of what the why is. So the next question is, what is your why, Chris? And I always lead into it with really what gets you out of bed every morning and excited to do what you do to the level that you do it at.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I think about the people that are most successful, and the people that I want in my world, and this is what we use for hiring. It's people that are happy, hungry, humble, and smart. And so the hungry piece, always ends up going back to that why. Why are you doing it? Otherwise you can't be hungry, in order to get up and keep going. Because anybody can start, but who are the ones that can finish?
Right.
And so, so the big why, as I look at it, I write down my goals every morning and I say, what is the reason I want to do this? One, there's a piece that I just love about excellence. Two, I train my mind, because I think mindset is the key to winning. And I think there's a system. Everybody thinks mindset is this white knuckling, but there's a system to getting the right mindset that will help you run hard. And three is what are the goals? And so the goals that I write down, one, it's God, family, business. So, I'm a Christian guy, and I feel like I've been created for a reason. And to whom much is given, much is demanded. If you have the ability to do good and to create wealth and to do big things, you have the responsibility to do those things. And so I do think that I've been given gifts that I feel like I'd be irresponsible not to use.
Wow.
The second thing is I want to provide a legacy for my family, and part of the legacy, it's not necessarily wealth. Wealth is the byproduct of excellence, right?
Well
If you do
said.
amazing things in your business, wealth will come. It's like the heat from a fire comes because of the fire, right? You can't have heat without the fire. So
Sure.
the excellence and a good business and a good structure produces, the byproduct, which is the heat. And so as we do that, we train our family, we train our kids, we teach them the rich dad, poor dad model. You teach them what excellence is. And so that's really huge. And so, and then the last thing is, it's funny. My wife, who doesn't care about money at all, came downstairs I guess it was like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And she was crying and she's like, Chris, I just, good crying. She's like, Chris, I need your business to make more money. I need you to make more money. I was like, who is this woman? This is not my wife.
Wait a minute here.
And the crazy thing is, she was reading about this Young Life camp, this wealthy business guy that donated a Young Life camp, and we heard another guy who had donated a Young Life camp speak one time, and he just said, he's like, when I sold my business for an ungodly amount of money, I did three things. I bought a jet, I bought a yacht, and I bought this Young Life camp. And he's like, the jet's somewhere, in the scrapyard somewhere. The yacht's probably at the bottom of the ocean. And this Young Life camp has touched the lives of hundreds of thousands of teenagers over the years. And he's like, if I had to do over again, I'd buy 3 Young Life camps. And I was like, that's powerful. That's incredible. So anyway, I don't know if that was, more than what you're looking for or about what we're talking about, but yeah.
No, Chris, that was beautiful. And again, the point is that for those questions is I really think it's important for everybody to really understand those deep whys and what really motivates the best of the best to do what they do. And the continual message over doing this for years, with so many different professionals all over the world, is it's above ourselves. Our whys are something much greater than who we are, and we're touching so many other people's lives, and that ripple effect is just never ending. It's infinite. And I think that there's other industries that you can make a lot of money in, and if it's just about the money, there's probably easier ones to make it in. When it comes down to it, I think that it has to be more and to really drive above that, because you can always make more, you can always have more investments, but it's not really fulfilling at the end of the day. And so again, to make the greatest levels of successes, there needs to be professionals like you to really set that standard, to really paint that picture. And again, I love to see that and hear that. And so does everybody else there, really setting that bar up there, Chris, which is a fantastic thing for sure. I mean, making the industry great all over again. But when it comes down to the portions of education and the next question, which is actually a crowd pleaser throughout this entire series, because everybody wants to learn and grow from the Titans and really, I guess, understand things that you've done to grow and scale your business. So if you could look back at your business thus far, Chris, and pick or choose one or two things, a few things that you added to your business that you saw a jump, that you saw growth, something that really expanded, what's that look like for you?
Oh man, I'd say I actually teach a class called Mindset to a Million, and there's a handful of things that I talk about in that. The first is mindset, and knowing that mindset is a system that can be trained, because that's just a huge piece.
Love it.
The second piece is he who walks with the wise grows wise. I'm a Christian guy. The Bible says that. He who walks with the wise grows wise. And as I look at the history of my adult life, what I have seen is, it's just unbelievable where I've leveled up. It always coincides with new relationships that I've found. Okay. And so, when we become friends with other people that are thinking bigger than we're thinking, and I've almost got like a quasi board of directors in my life,
Love
people
it.
that are, I've got guys that are great dads and great husbands and great business thinkers and great spiritually, just different people that maybe I don't necessarily love other parts of their life.
Sure.
But we get to choose our prophets in our life, right? We get to choose the people we listen to. And so he who walks with the wise grows wise. And as I look at these leveling up jumps, it always coincides with new relationships. And, I've worked hard to seek those out. And actually on stuff like podcasts like these, where you listen to somebody and you say, man, I really love what they have to say, reaching out to them and just working to get into into their life and onto their calendar. And the crazy thing is, it's like the Dead Sea is the Dead Sea because, stuff comes in and then doesn't go out. And so usually the people that are the best in the world tend to bring stuff in. They're always learning, but then they're also giving as well. And so yeah, those people that are really good tend to be very generous with what they have. And so so mindset, walking with the whys. Here was one of the other big pieces of that is the morning routine. I'm by nature a night person. Like I literally wake up now when in college I would have gone to sleep.
A complete shift. Wow, that's
Absolutely.
huge. Yeah.
But I know somebody will find some person somewhere that's an outlier that says, no, this person wakes up late and is successful. But the reality is success leaves clues. And I'm a huge reader. Well, I'm an Audible guy. So I love that. Love to just ingest as much information as I can. And as I follow these people, success leaves clues. Almost every wildly successful person wakes up early, gets the stuff done, their important things done, because it's not about doing more, it's about doing more of what matters, and get those things done in the morning. And so that the rest of the day could be whatever it is, but as long as you've succeeded before noon, your whole day has been won. And so that honestly was probably one of the biggest pieces. And then the last piece honestly was with our business, and it goes back to leveling up in relationships. Getting into business with other people. Like a lot of these retail leads have changed, so much of our business from the investors that are just, they're paying for the leads already. So being able to have more at bats on these and be able to just close leads for them, help them almost zero base their marketing, and then help our business really grow has been life-changing for us. It's been insanely good.
And Chris, I mean, there was a huge hill of gold nuggets that you just gave to everybody there. I mean, going from, the standpoint of mindset and surrounding yourself with great people and really learning and being hungry that way to really, looking at the thought leaders that are around you in their own perspectives and picking and choosing and selecting the pieces of everyone that make you the best version of yourself, and really just paying attention to all those details and putting it together. I mean, that's a perfect example of, what all of us should be doing on a regular basis. And looking at it from the morning routine, there's so many real estate professionals that are night owls, as they say, and they're not necessarily morning people. And I get that. I understand it. But at the same time, you are right. Success does leave clues. You look at some of the most incredible business professionals, CEOs, just absolute, true professionals in all their fields. And they tend to have that early morning mentality. And it's there's a lot of consistency with that. There's a lot of consistency with constantly learning, exercise, and those sorts of things. I mean, all those really kind of set you up to become the best version of yourself. Because if you're slowing yourself down, if you have negative thought processes and surrounded by negative people, how are you going to become the best version? And you're not going to be able to help as many people. So it's not just for ourselves, it's to be able to help more and help others. But you got to start with you. I mean, it really does. So, I mean, you listed so many amazing things in there. So everybody pause it, rewind it, reach out to Chris. I'll have a bunch of links so you can contact down below. So hopefully I'm not blowing up your DM there, Chris. But yeah, it's just, there's so much knowledge there. It's not even funny. So it's just huge takeaways already out the bat. And we're just getting started, everybody. So, but when we come down to this particular question, I do want to shift gears, and this changes the tone a little bit for the series and the actual interview itself, but it's a challenge question. And Chris, at the end of the day, I always lead into it with, we all have challenges and struggles, whether they're personal or professional in our lives, whether it's in the past, dealing with them now, or into the future. And no one is exempt. But at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer of not so much what happens, but what we can learn and how we respond and what we can share and grow from, and not downplaying pain, sorrow, hardship, personally or professionally. But I think that message is very, very important. So if you're comfortable sharing a challenge that you dealt with personally, professionally, that you overcame, Chris, you came stronger because of it, what's that look like for you?
Oh man. I mean, I've had, so many different pieces. But I would say one of the biggest ones was, Jim Collins has his book, How the Mighty Fall, which is, Good to Great, and then How the Mighty Fall. And in it, he talks about a number of pieces, but one is the hubris born of success. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but when you start having success and then you think you can do anything after that. And so I would say one of the pieces that I saw was, as I was growing our team, we brought on some people, some really good people that really were doing great. And then we got to a place where we just believed that anybody that wanted to be a part of the team, we could help them win. And then what you realize is that there's some factors about winners where they just have this internal desire to win, because you just can't teach hustle, right? You just can't. That's something deep inside. And so we had to, we spent so much time, it was crazy, because we almost doubled our agent count, and we did maybe 10% more deals with double the agent count. And after a while, we lost, almost all of the agents that were not producing, kind of left through one reason or another. Some of them were asked to leave, some of them left, because they weren't making money, all the other stuff. And the crazy thing is that next year, we actually doubled the amount of volume in the business we did, because all of a sudden we weren't doing more, we were doing more of what matters. And so we were focusing on what was important. And so that was, honestly, that was probably one of the big keys there, is just for us, that hubris born of success. You start thinking that you can make anybody successful. And we boiled it down to the people that we know can win in this business. It's people that are happy, hungry, humble, and smart. If they're not happy, if they weren't happy before, you're not going to make them happy. It's just the case.
You're
happy
so true.
Happy. Hungry. People, if they're not hungry, if you don't rip open their chest and see the heart of a lion inside of them, they're not going to want to fight hard. When somebody says no, they're going to say, oh, sorry, too bad.
Right.
Wish it could have worked out, but that's not who wins. Persistence breaks resistance, right? You got to push through to win. And, and if they've got a fire there in the right system, you can throw gasoline on it and it's huge. If there's no fire inside, you throw gasoline, you just got a wet spot, right? So it doesn't work. And, so happy, hungry, humble. And this is one of those things that's tough, because you've got to be confident in this business.
Sure.
But humility, literally to be able to put yourself at the feet of people. Every week I would call somebody, and just somebody that was better than me in one area or another. And I'm just like, I just start asking them questions, seeing how I can learn from them. Allowing people to speak into that's a huge one. Can people speak into your life and you listen to them? Or do you get so upset when somebody critiques you or says something, thinking that, they're just, anyway, so you got to, there's humility is important. And then smart is EQ. Like, how do you relate with people? Do you not just intellectually, but also emotionally, do you interact with people well? So that was one of the huge things, is learning that has absolutely changed our business, because, horses want to run with horses. Horses don't want to run with donkeys. And so if you're surrounding yourself with people that don't have this deep desire to win, winners want to hang with winners, and so that's the big cool thing. And I think that when people hear this, the winners out there, their heart is inspired. They come alive. They say, yes, I want to run with winners. This is who I want to be. And the people that are maybe not winning right now, people that are not, they don't care about winning so much, they're probably saying, who is this guy? He's a jerk.
Why would he say that? Why would he make me feel this way? And to all those people that maybe feel that way, it's not intended in a negative tendency. It comes down to speaking the truth. And Chris, you are. Success breeds success. Light attracts light. You really do want to help. You want to help as many people as you can. But there's certain people that, if you're trying to help a negative mindset or somebody who's just really not getting it, and that's encompassing your entire world, eventually that's going to start to rub off on you too. And again, that's going to hinder not just the rest of your team, but the rest of your family and your clients. So you can only help so much. And I agree with that. But the people that you're helping, they have to want to be helped. And it's like the horse to water sort of thing, right?
Greg, can I share with you one of my favorite stories?
Do it.
So I guess it was at the beginning of last year when we grew like crazy. We went from 80 million to 120 million. So it was a massive jump.
Yeah.
But one of the things I decided was I no longer am going to treat my calendar equally. I'm going to say some things are more important than others, you know, and your calendar is no longer equal. I'm also not going to treat, I'm going to treat everybody fairly, but I'm not going to treat everybody the same.
Right.
And so I only started meeting with the people that were the top quartile in our business. And you know, we have our rules in our business. You've got to, 5 days a week, you've got to talk to 20 people. You got to prospect with 20 people every day.
Right.
You've got to do your education, because it's activity and skill is what wins, right? Even if you're a terrible salesperson, if you talk to 1,000 people a day, you're going to outperform the best salesperson that talks to 5 people a day.
Yes.
Any day a week.
Yes.
But what happens if all of a sudden you get really good at what you say and you talk to a lot of people? Then it's lightning in a bottle, right? You know, it's like an axe, a blunt axe. If you hit a tree enough times, you're going to chop it down. But all of a sudden you sharpen the axe and still hit the tree a lot of times. Man, it's going to be awesome. So I had this, there was a girl on our team, and she came to me and she's like, Chris, you used to meet with me all the time. You don't meet with me anymore. And I said, well, we kind of talked about this. I said, what are the rules for our team? What does success look like? She's like, well, talk to a minimum of 20 people every day, but 30 would be better. 5 days a week. Like, right. That's what we talk about every single day. And I was like, how many people did you talk to yesterday? She said 3. I was like, what about the day before? 2. And, you know, and I'm like, so wait, so you want me to meet with you and you want more leads from us right now? I was like, but you're not willing to do the things that you know are required for success, but you want me to invest in you when you're not willing to invest in yourself. Right. And then I said, so activity and skill. I was like, what is the skill requirement for us? And she said, you know, half an hour every day minimum of education. And I said, okay, how many podcasts or books or whatever, how much training have you done? How much did you do yesterday? She's like, well, I listened to the morning huddle. I was like, does that count? No, it doesn't count. I was like, yeah, that's right. You know, because we do our team morning training every, you know, in the mornings. I was like, but you know, that doesn't count, right? And she's like, I know it doesn't count. I was like, so again, I was like, how about open houses? Because we also, you know, say a minimum of 4 open houses a month. And you could do, literally, you can do 4 1-hour open houses on a Sunday if you want to. But 4 open houses a month. I said, how many open houses have you done in the last month? And she said, I haven't done any. And so I said, all right, if you're not investing in yourself, I can't invest in you until you are willing to invest in yourself. Right. And so then she came back and said, all right, what do you want me to do? And I was like, I think you know what I want you to do, right?
We already discussed this. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. What she says to me is, she's like, okay, I'll do it. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Come back to me in 2 months after you do it. You do all these things. We start meeting together. You have as many leads as you want. And so 2 months later, she had 7 pending. She had more pending than she had the whole last year. 7 pending in like 2 months, and had her pipeline was full. And that's the crazy thing is it's not rocket science in this business. You do the right thing, activity and skill, and you're going to win. And everybody wants the silver bullet. Actually, my wife and I were talking about this because she's a writer. We were talking about writing a book at some point in time. And, you know, the idea was there's no silver bullet. But the reality is if we wrote a book called There's No Silver Bullet, nobody would buy it because everybody wants the silver bullet. And so we're like, maybe we write the book called The Silver Bullet of Real Estate. And then page 1 says, there's no silver bullet. Here's what you got to do. Hard work.
Right. But, you know, Chris, that story I think is beautiful and is going to echo to so many people out there who's watching or listening because, I mean, you have to help yourself. I think it's what is it? The movie Jerry Maguire, Help Me, Help You. I mean, it's really that sort of mentality. It's, you know, you're the best of the best, as you said earlier. They're willing to give, they're willing to serve, they want to share their knowledge and help other people become great and greater. But they have to be able to drink that up. They have to be able to soak that up. And that entrepreneur, that top business professional, when they see that, it's very difficult to pour yourself into somebody who's just getting out of the way and really not trying to drink that. And it's just, for me, it's sad, but it's a reality and situation. There's so many people or professionals that they feel they know it all, or they feel that they can take bits and pieces and want to assume the same results as that person without really walking in their shoes. And I've had this conversation with so many professionals as well, where they look to pros like you, Chris, and what you do and your reputation and to the level that you do it at. But then when it really comes down to it, they say, gosh, I would love to be Chris. I want to be just like him. I want to be the next Chris. And then the conversation usually says, are you sure you really want that? Because they really don't understand what you do and how you do it and how hard you do it and how long it took for you to get to where you are to today. So that scares a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of laziness, there's inconsistencies, but at the end of the day, as you said, you put massive amounts of consistent effort and work into something, you will outwork your competitor. You have wonderful people that are there to train you and educate you and guide you through that process, and you actually listen to them. Boy, watch out. It's lethal because there's a small percentage that are actually going to do that. Most people won't.
Yeah. And I love that. So I actually just kind of, I do these morning minute, talks just on Facebook or whatever, just
Love
Facebook
it.
Live. And I just talked about this the other day. Everybody wants the outcome, but nobody wants the process, right? That's just it. I think it was Nick Saban who says everybody wants to be the beast, but nobody wants to do what the beast does. Like that's that
so
whole
true.
thing. They're like, man, I could do what he does. Well, did you do it for 10 years? And
right.
They want the overnight success story. Justin Bieber, everybody makes fun of me for loving, I love his documentary Believer. Okay. And
I haven't seen it.
It's so good.
Sure.
Everybody makes so much fun of me for it. But here's the thing. The reason I love it so much is because everybody refers to him as an overnight success story because he got this YouTube video that went viral and overnight success story. But what you see with this documentary is that he literally was grinding it out as a little boy for years and years and years, working on his craft, being good, so that when opportunity came, he was ready for it. But everybody sees it like the overnight success stories are always 10-year overnight success stories. They're getting ready for it.
Yeah.
And then it happens.
And you're so right. And it's that adage, there's no such thing as luck. It's preparation meets opportunity. And I think that exact story and so many other business professionals, actors, athletes, politicians. I mean, anybody who's the greatest at their craft, they put in the time, they put in the work. It's practice, practice, practice. The battles are won before it even begins, right? The championship is won in their heads. I mean, it's through practice over and over and over again. So there's no different in real estate. I mean, this is preparation and a true craft and taking yourself seriously and then really caring about others. And it's going to happen, but you just got to take the time. And most people aren't patient. They're just not patient enough. I think that's a big issue with a lot of top producers and professionals is we all want to be 10 steps ahead. We all want to be 10 years ahead, but you just got to enjoy the ride. You got to take the time and really just get better and better and help people along the way. And it goes by so fast. And you said you had 6 kids. We just had our first, and she's, I want to say but yeah, it was, I think 19 months, 20 months now. And she's a light of our world. And, it's already changed so quickly. And I can imagine, because I have so many buddies that are like, Greg, you just wait. I have 2 daughters and they're 17 and 21. And I remember just yesterday they were born, and it goes by quick. So there's so much to life and business and balance and spirituality and everything that we've been talking about through here. But it's just, gosh, I mean, get around people like Chris, just hang out with this guy, learn from this guy, pick and choose, find your mentors in your areas and really just latch onto that if it's something you're passionate about. I mean, we could go on and on about this, Chris. And again, I want to, just for the sake of the audience, I want to keep pushing forward, but that was an amazing answer. And thanks so much. It's not easy to air stuff out in front of everybody, but I do want to go to a slightly softer side. And this is actually one of my favorite questions. It's the travel back in time portion. So we don't have a time machine. We can't actually do this, at least that I know of yet. But if you could travel back in time, Chris, at any time frame, at any age range of your life, and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, what would you say to your younger self? And I'll put this little caveat in there. It's not to change who you are, because everything you went through, positive or negative, made you who you are to today. But really just something that you might say to yourself. If anything, it could be personal, business related, it could be funny. Would young Chris listen to older Chris? I mean, what would you say?
Man, well, I just heard somebody actually talk about that now and making decisions now on a podcast I was listening to last week.
Okay.
Where it says, whenever I'm making a decision, I think, what would what would I ask myself, or what would I counsel myself 10 years in the future to get there? And I was like, that's
Very
an
cool.
interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
Going back, I think I would have said to myself early on, the power of how powerful relationships are, and everything. So I've always chosen my friends well, and I've chosen mentors, but it wasn't until probably a couple of years ago, and I think I've had a massive. So I look at my life as I've leveled up,
Sure.
and I said it was through these relationships, and in the last couple of years, I see the world so differently than I do now. You kind of get behind the curtain of business, and what I would have done is early on just said, Chris, go get with people that are way ahead of you and just learn to think like they think. You can do what they do, which is good, but then when you really get that lightning in a bottle is when you learn to think like they think. And so I was talking to a friend of mine, where he was. So I was personally making calls to people that were ahead of me, and I was talking to a friend of mine. He said he would actually go out to where they were, go spend a day with them, just kind of seeing what they're doing, and then the next day he would take them out to somewhere cool and just hang out with them and learn how they think, and just be able to talk like they talk and understand how they think about the world and see the world. And even now, I've got a couple friends that are just doing business at a higher level than I am. Sure. And they're pushing me to start looking at the business in a different way. And so, yeah, I'd be 10 times further along than I am today if I would have just really, really been so not accidentally finding these people early in my life, but been intentional about finding those people, play offense instead of kind of, let it just happen to me.
Yeah, no, and being the proactive nature instead of reactive. And I think that, so to rebut what you're saying, I mean, to accidentally or happenstance, I mean, you were doing the right things and it put you in front of the right people too, Chris. But I understand what you're saying. And why I like that question is we can't go back. We can't change anything we've done, but we can change today. We can change the future. And anybody who's watching or listening, what you said is we should all be doing this. We should all be reaching out and reaching up. And, when it comes down to it, guess what? If we're all doing that, that means somebody's going to reach out to you. So as much as you're reaching out to others, just make sure that when it happens to you, that you want to try to reciprocate. But again, to the right people, the people that are ready to absorb the information. And you have to just judge that time. And we can only help so many. But I think that that's so true. And again, the best and brightest minds in the world, they all have that thought process. They learn from greater and better people in different aspects of their life to become the best version of themselves. And that's really the only way to do it. I think that that's brilliant and echoed through, the Titan Nation. Everybody, please listen to what Chris said, because that is so crucial. It's not even funny. But when it comes down to this is actually the most crowd-pleasing portion besides the advisory portion, but this is the feeding of the mind. Now, you had mentioned books, podcasts, things like that, but I always lead into it with the Titans is, Chris, how are you feeding your mind on a regular basis? Books you love that you've read or currently reading, podcasts you're listening to, coaches, mentors, conferences. How are you feeding your mind?
Well, part of it is my morning routine, which is, this is part of your mindset, has to be your system. So, and if you don't have it, it's like the gym. The reason part of the thing with the gym was, after I got out of college and wasn't playing sports anymore, there were so many times where I'm like, I'm going to go to the gym, in the morning. Okay, I'm going to go right before lunch. I'm going to go at lunch. I'm going to go after lunch. I'm going to go before dinner. I'm going to go after dinner. After the kids go to bed, I'm going to go tomorrow. And because it wasn't regular on the schedule, that's just, I brush my teeth and I don't even think about it because it's on the schedule. Right. I wake up and do my routine because it's my schedule. I don't think about it anymore. And so, so what I would say is, here's how I feed my mind. I wake up, this is my morning routine, and this is the process. Okay. I wake up, I write down my goals, because again, you asked about your why. You got to touch your why. You got to interact with your why every day to feed that energy to keep going, because otherwise we just, it's easy to put it aside and do what comes easy and natural. If success was easy, everybody would do it.
Well said.
To be uncommon, you got to do the things that common people don't do. And so You feed your why. I'm a Christian guy, so I feed myself spiritually. I read my Bible and pray every morning. I've got a gym in my basement. I go downstairs. I work out in the gym, and I like models, so I put in I do a bunch of the Beachbody type things where you just put in the DVD.
Cool.
Do what they say, don't even think about it, like, boom, this is what I'm doing today. And but also I like Jim Collins, where he talks about the genius of the and. So I always am turning on a book or a podcast. So I've got my Audible right here.
Cool.
On 3.5 times, or let's see, 1.75 speed. And just finished reading the Messy Middle, but which was a great book about finishing, kind of getting to the finish well.
Sure.
Podcasts. I love Craig Groeschel's leadership podcast. Obviously, you've got a great podcast here. People should be listening to.
Oh, thank you. There
you go. I've got a number of podcasts actually on my website, chriscraddock.com. I have a reading list that I think every millionaire anybody that wants to be a millionaire needs to read these books, because it'll help compress like the decades into days, learn from everybody else so you can hit that learning curve. Then I go upstairs, I jump in the shower. I do some stuff with my kids, and then I jump in the shower and I have a Bluetooth speaker I turn on. So again, I'm listening, I'm learning, I'm feeding my brain. And then I have a quick 5-minute meeting with my wife. It's kind of like our team huddle before we get started, because we got 6 kids. It's like a business. So we have our business meeting. Then I jump in the car, and I own 6 other businesses. And so I either have a conversation with one of my other business partners, or I turn on, a podcast or a book, and I listen to it. And then I get into the office for our morning huddle at 9. And then I have my rocks that I need to move, every day. So, I get that done by noon. And that's how I, make sure I've got a process of feeding myself every morning, because your business will grow to the extent that you grow. So the second you stop growing, people are going to graduate out of your world, and you're going to lose talented people that could live with you if you have continued to grow and make them let their worlds grow alongside with your world.
Unreal, Chris. And again, you painted that beautiful picture and that roadmap to success. And again, what I'd like to say to everybody is just pause this, rewind it, reflect on it, and look at your life and look at your habits that you're doing on a daily basis. And really, this is a beautiful model for so many people to look at and go into. Chris, the fact that you have that list on your site, which I'll put links in the comments down below so people can go straight to your site, they can go straight to that list, and you can really feed your mind the same way that Chris is doing. But please just listen to these words, because they're extremely wise. I mean, there's just a wealth of knowledge that's going inside here. And Chris is just, again, a perfect example of what a true professional should be doing under any circumstances as an entrepreneur, running so many different businesses and a family and making an impact, and not just being a slouch at it, really doing it at the highest levels. True inspiration, Chris. And again, I can't thank you enough for just sharing all the information and the gold nuggets and the levels of mindset and thought process from a true pro. I want to finish everything up with a final question. And this one ends up being a quote or mantra that sums you up as a man, as a professional. What's that look like for you, Chris?
Well, the goal as I look at it, and it comes straight from Gary Keller's mantra, God, family, business. It's got to be that. And when it's not that, that's when things get out of whack. That's when we, act in ways we shouldn't act, do things we shouldn't do. But if we let that inform who we are, then then we win, right? Then we win.
I love that. And to me, it sums you up beautifully all the way through and through, Chris. And it's been an absolute pleasure just to really getting to know you with the audience through here. And it's just been a wild ride. And again, everybody out there, I really hope you enjoy this one, because I know I did. This is fantastic stuff. But Chris, you are an official real estate titan, my friend. I'd shake your hand if I was physically there, but I'll do it digitally anyway. Yeah. But definitely next time I'm out in DC, I'll look you up. We'll definitely have to get together or whatnot. But yeah, so I just want to thank you again for your time, Chris. It was an absolute honor.
That's awesome. Thanks for having me here, man. This was so fun.
For sure. And everybody out there, as always, thank you so much for your time and attention, your love and support. If you like what we're doing here with the Real Estate Titans, please don't forget to like, comment, share, all the rest of it on all the platforms that we're on there. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor today, Lionbolt Media. For more information, go to lionboltmedia.com. But yes, thank you. Every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody in the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. See you, Chris.
See you, man. Thanks again.